Alright, so welcome back. In this video, we are going to learn another Sandhi known as Yarn Sandhi. This is another vowel Sandhi. It is a very important Sandhi, as are the others. Now remember, Sandhi, Sandha, putting together. Okay? When you encounter a verse or a sutra or a shloka or a karika, etc., the individual Sanskritam words are put together. They're condensed, they're put together based on these grammatical Sandhi rules. So it allows for a smooth flowing and pronunciation of things. Now, if you want to translate the words, if you want to translate the sentence, you have to know the rules of Sandhi and how these words are put together, so then you can break them down and individually analyze them. Okay, so Yarn Sandhi is a very important Sandhi that involves Yarn letters here, and which I'll explain in a second. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so by hitting the lotus icon on the bottom right of the screen for more videos on Indian philosophy and Sanskritam, and please do visit the academyofIndianphilosophy.com for more information. Now, what is Yarn Sandhi? Now, Yarn is a code word that is mentioned in the Maheshwara sutrani. Now, I'll discuss this a bit more in detail later, but Maheshwara sutrani is a beautiful composition, rhythmic pattern of the Devanagari letters, right? A, I, un, ru, lurk, eong, ayoch, right? It's really interesting, and it goes on and on for some time. It's very rhythmic. And so when you look at the letters and you put them together, they're arranged in such a way where starting from the first letter and the second letter, it delineates what letters are involved in that group. So for now, just know that the group or the code word yarn means semivowels. Okay? So yarn here, yarn means semivowels. And again, what are the semivowels? We have ya, we have ra, we have la, and we have va. Okay? We have yara, lava. These are the semivowels. And so whenever one is saying yarn sandhi, it is saying the sandhi that involves semivowels. Okay? Now, again, we went through the semivowels when we studied these consonants, and we're like, why are they called semivowels? They're part of the consonants. It's here in this Sandhi rule in particular that we'll learn why Yara Lava are considered as semivowels, although they're mentioned in the consonant list, the Vyanjana list, right? So let's begin. So first and foremost, we look at, let's say this is a first word and this is the second word, okay? So word one and word two. This is the end of the first word, and this is the beginning of the second word. Okay? Remember, this sandhi, this type of sandhi is an external sandhi, which is between two entities. Okay? It's not an internal sandhi, which involves starting from the root and creating and making one word internally to make one word. This is an external sandhi. There's already existing things and you're putting them together. Okay? So here we have the end of the first word and the beginning of the second word. Now, there's going to be two conditions that one must identify in order for the yarn sandhi to occur. Okay? Condition one. Condition one. So, the end of the first word, so I say end of first word, okay, must be any vowel except for a or a. Okay? The end of the first word here must be any vowel except for a or a. Now let me tell you what this means. It can be I or I. It can be U or U. It can be ri or ri, longer one here. And that's it. We're not going to include the complex vowels because that involves another sandhi. So any vowel, the end of the first word must be any vowel except for a or a. So I, u, ri, or ru, okay? Condition 2. The beginning of the second word, okay? Beginning of the second word must be a dissimilar vowel. Any dissimilar vowel. Okay? So what does this mean? If over here you have an I or an E, the second word cannot begin with an I or an E, right? Because then it will be savarna, dirgha, sandhi, and they will combine together. The previous sandhi that we learned. Whenever you have an I or E, and followed by I or E, it'll become long E. That's why you need to have a dissimilar vowel here. So if this is an I or E, and then this one is an a, u, ru, then yan sandhi is activated and both conditions are fulfilled. Okay? Remember that. First condition, end of the first word must be any vowel except for a or a and a pretty much. And the beginning of the second word must be any dissimilar vowel. Okay, it cannot be the same vowel that follows afterwards, because that will activate a different sandhi, the one that we already learned. Okay, savarna dirgha vowel sandhi. Okay, every vowel is associated with a particular semivowel, with the corresponding semivowel. This is important. Every vowel is associated with a corresponding semivowel. Now look, here we have I or E. This is associated with the semivowel of ya. Okay? U or U is associated with the semivowel of va. Okay? And ri or ri is associated with ra. La we don't have to worry about, because that's associated with the vowel that we're not going to see as much, so or rarely. So I or E is associated with ya, U associated with va, and ru associated with ra. This is important to remember, because it is these vowels that are going to transform into the corresponding semivowels, and thus that is what we call yan sandhi. Okay, so let's begin. So let's say we have the word here iti followed by ataha. Iti followed by ataha. Okay, are the conditions fulfilled for yan sandhi? End of the first word, so condition 1, end of the first word must be any vowel except for a or a. End of the first word, I. Condition 1 is fulfilled. Condition 2, beginning of the second word must be any dissimilar vowel. Yes, it's an a. It's not an E, right? Or I. So we have both conditions fulfilled, and we have yan sandhi. Now, what happens in yan sandhi? Step 1. What we do is replace the I in this case, or the E, right, with corresponding semivowel. Corresponding semivowel. Okay? So what is the corresponding semivowel? The corresponding semivowel of this is ya. Ya. So for the first step, you have to replace the I with this corresponding semivowel ya. So what happens is we get itya, right? Itya. Okay? So remember, it's not itya because we're replacing it with ya with the virama at the end of it. It's cut. So itya. Then, what is the second step? Add on the rest. Just simply add on the rest. Okay? So you have itya plus ataha. So what is this going to form? Ityataha. 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 Right? So we have ityataha. So originally we had iti, ataha. We removed the e, or we substituted the e with the ya, and it became itya, right? And then we just added on the rest, ityataha, and it looks like this, ityataha. So in a sentence, you'll see it like this, ityataha, right? But you'll know gradually that, there's no word called ityataha, but I know there's ityataha. Oh, yan sandhi happened there, okay? We'll go over another example here. So let's say, for example, we use uktaha. I'll write it like this, just to make it simple. But the conjunct consonant is written, it can be written like this. So, iti plus uktaha. Iti plus uktaha. Okay? So again, end of the first word must be any vowel except for a or a. Is that true? Yes. It's an e. Beginning of the second word must be any dissimilar vowel. It's an u. Right? So then we have iti plus uktaha. And we have both conditions fulfilled. So now what happens? Step one, again, replace the e with this corresponding semivowel, which is ya. So then we're going to have itya, itya again, right? And second step, add on the rest, right? Just add on the rest. So you have itya plus uktaha. So what are we going to get? Ityuktaha. 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 Interesting, right? So in a sentence, it'll come up like this, ityuktaha, right? So it'll say like something, some technical thing, or in a commentary, or something will be said, and it'll say ityuktaha. This is what has been said, or this quotation is that which has been said. Ityuktaha, but you know that there's no word called ityuktaha. It's iti plus uktaha, which becomes ityuktaha as a result of yan sandhi. Okay? So now let's move on to u. Okay. So let's say we have the word tu, right? And let's say the following word is atma, right? Again, look at it. Condition one, end of the first word must be any vowel except for a or a. So it's an u. Good. Condition one fulfilled. Condition two, beginning of the second word must be any dissimilar vowel. Ah. Condition two fulfilled. Now, what do? I'll write it up here. Number one, replace u or u with corresponding semivowel. And what is that one? Va. Okay, so we have tu, and the u is replaced by the va, so it becomes dv, right? Dv. How is this happening microscopically? Well, remember we have tu. What does tu consist of? Tu consists of ta, right? Cut off, plus u. So now you're replacing this with the v. So then here this forms a conjunct consonant, and that becomes tv, tv, right? So here you have tv, and then what's the second step? Add on the rest. Add on the rest. So tv plus atma equals tvatma. Tvatma. You see? Tu plus atma, tvatma. Because the u gets replaced by a v, the corresponding semivowel v. Okay, and then you just add on the rest. Just like the previous one, except the previous one gets the e gets replaced by a ya, right? E by a ya, u by a v, right? Okay, let's use another example here. So let's say, we'll just stick with tu again. So tu plus, let's just say iti. Tu plus iti. Again, it could be like any word. It can be like ishvaraha, you know, it can be plenty of other words that we can use. But in this case, you know, like icha or something. So we'll use a short one for now. Tu plus iti. So again, condition 1, end of the first word must be any vowel except for a or a, fulfilled. And beginning of the second word must be any dissimilar vowel, fulfilled. Okay? 2 conditions fulfilled. Replace u or u with corresponding semivowel v. So you get tv, tv again. And then add on the rest. Iti. So what do you get? Tviti. 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 Okay, let's write it again to make it more clear. Tviti. Okay, tviti. This is what happens in this case. So we've learned I and U. Now let's learn Ri and Ri. And again, remember, this doesn't have to only be a short U. This could be a long U as well, right? And the same thing with the previous I or E. So we use the word iti, right? In the first one for I. We could use the word like nadi with a long E and then do the same stuff. Okay, so it's short E and long E, same thing happens. Short U, long U, same thing happens. Now let's look at a short Ri and long Ri. Okay, so now we'll look at short Ri and long Ri. So say we have the word pitru. So pitru is father, right? Pitru. And let's add the word here, atra. Let's just say atra. Okay, a lot of these words, just putting them together just to show you really what's going on with the yan sandhi. Okay, we don't need to focus so much on meaning, but yeah. So pitru atra. Okay, so condition 1, end of the first word must be any vowel except for a or a. Yes, it's ri. And second, beginning of the second word must be any dissimilar vowel. Yes, it's followed by a. Okay, so here we have, how do we do this? Oh yeah, so first step, replace ri or long ri with corresponding semivowel. And what is that one? We look at the list here. So ra. So replace it. So what happens? It becomes pitra. Pitra. Right? Pitra. Right, you could even write it like this. Right? Like that's a TR. But here we're gonna just write it like this, pitra. So it turns into pitru to pitra without like the sound after it. And then you just, what do? Add on the rest. Add on the rest. right? So then pitra plus atra, what does that become? Pitratra. Pitratra. So it becomes like this. Pitratra. Okay? Because we have pitra, and you just add an then it goes pitra, then you add another tra. Pitratra. Pitratra. Okay? So you would see it in its final form, and then you'll say, there's no word called pitratra, but I know that there's pitru and atra. Oh, okay, it probably formed like that. Again, this particular vowel with ri and ru, you're not going to see that much of the yan sandhi of it. So don't worry. You're not going to see that much of it, but it's just worth knowing. So let's say, for example, if I add the word, let's say, let's put uktaha again. Let's put uktaha again. So, uktaha. So, we're going to say condition 1 and 2 are fulfilled, right? I wouldn't give that example otherwise for now. Pitru plus uktaha. So, replace the ri or the ri with corresponding semivowel, right? So, again, we have pitra, right? Then, you go ahead and add the rest. Uktaha. Uktaha. So what are you going to get? Pitruktaha, right? Pitruktaha. Pitruktaha. Right? Pitruktaha. Now, you're going to see it like that, and then you're going to know, I know there's no word called pitruktaha, but I know there's pitru and uktaha, so therefore this is a yan sandhi. So this is acquired through consistent practice. And remember, I want to make this point very clear that I gave you examples of the end of the first word being I, the end of the first word being U, and the end of the first word being Ri, right? So I gave you many of these examples here, and then any dissimilar vowel, right? Followed by any dissimilar vowel. Remember, it's not only these short vowels, it can also be E, right? U, and long Ri. Okay? So, I, U, Ri, plus any dissimilar vowel at the beginning of the second word will activate yan sandhi. Okay? So remember, yan sandhi is a sandhi, right? Putting together of words that involves semivowels. The corresponding semivowels of particular vowels. In this case, I, U, and Ri. Okay? Or long I, long U, long Ri. They have their corresponding Ya, Va, and Ra. Okay? And so you put them together and they start forming these words like ityuktaha and whatnot. Okay? Or ityarthaha, very common one. Iti arthaha, ityarthaha. You know, the meaning is as such. Quotation, the meaning is as such. Right? So, yogaschitta vritti nirodhaha. Right? One can say yogaha samadhihi ityarthaha. The meaning of yogaschitta vritti nirodhaha is that yoga is samadhi. Right? That's what will be said in the commentary. Vyasa's Bhashya. So anyway, so we'll leave it at this for now. And for more information, please go to the Academy of Indian Philosophy.com for more tutoring and classes. And I'll see you in the next video for the next Sandhi.